Hello and welcome back to Up Past Bedtime. I'm Bella Messina and tonight we're going to be staying up late together. I have a really interesting episode planned for you guys today because we are going to be talking about all things co-parenting and my recent experience going from being a stay-at-home mum full-time to now a 50-50 co-parent. I feel like this is a question I get asked a lot about. I have people wanting to know a lot of details on how we are structuring the whole parenting thing now that my husband and I have been separated for a few months now, I think just over 3 months. And I have a lot to say on this topic. I also find that recording this episode has come at a very coincidental time because it is actually my daughter's 3rd birthday today when I'm recording. And usually I do not record on a Saturday, but I came in today because I wanted to have something to do because it was not my weekend this weekend, which meant today was not my day to have my daughter. I have seen her this morning. I went and spent a few hours with her. We took her to an indoor playground center, which was really nice. We did presents together. I went over to and we, opened gifts together and we had breakfast together and did all of that, which was amazing. I'm so grateful for that. But it has been a really challenging 24 hours for me. So I think now is sort of the perfect time to talk about this and talk about the process that this has been so far. And I'm sure a process that is going to be for the rest of my children's life, I would assume. Welcome to Up Past Bedtime with me, Bella Messina, your go-to girl for those late night unfiltered conversations. You know, the ones you have with your closest girlfriends. No topic is off limits here. I'll either be hosting chats with some incredible women or sharing my own real stories as a 20-something mother of 2. UPB is for us to feel seen, heard, and understood. So let's stay up late and talk about all the things that matter. After all, the best conversations happen when you're up past bedtime. So what I was thinking is I might give you guys a little rundown of what my current situation looks like on the parenting front and talk about some of the experiences that I've had. And then I did put a poll up on the UPB Instagram asking people to ask any questions they wanted to know around co-parenting. So I'll also answer those for you guys. There were quite a few that came through and some of them are very personal. But I'll answer as much as I can, as much as I feel like is comfortable to answer. So I guess we can get into that. But before we get into that, I need to do some live updates, okay? The last 2 episodes, I haven't had a chance to do live updates. And that's my favorite part at the start of the podcast. It's I feel like the time where we just get to have a little girly bestie catch up. I have had a really busy couple of weeks. As I just said, it was Rosie's birthday today. So I've been doing lots and lots of prep for that, organizing presents. We're having a sort of birthday party for her tomorrow. We're taking 2 other families to Wet n Wild for the day. We organized some cabanas and we're just going to go there and do that because we just thought it was a bit easier than doing a big party shindig that we used to do every single year. And Adrian and I were both happy with that as sort of our option. We took Rosie to Wet n Wild for her 2nd birthday, just on the actual day, which was a Friday last year or Thursday. Are we in a leap year this year? I'm not sure, but that was really fun and she absolutely loved it. So we were we want to take her back again. She had the best time ever. So that is what my weekend is sort of looking like. Otherwise, I have honestly been drowning in work. It is Black Friday week in the online world, which is absolutely insane. It's the equivalent of end of financial year for an accountant or Boxing Day for a retail worker. It is the biggest time of year. It is a really high pressure big time of year, and so I've just been drowning in getting all of that done, and I feel I haven't gotten a chance to chat to you guys as much as I usually would and talk about the things that I would usually like to talk about, which has been really, really sad. But I also haven't really had a chance to do anything fun. I haven't watched any fun TV shows. I haven't read any new fun books. I haven't been going out and doing new fun things. I've barely been seeing or messaging my friends because I've just been literally in the trenches of work and solo parenting life. And that has been really challenging to navigate because I am so used to always having another set of hands there, at least to some degree, at some point in the day. So it's been really interesting to go through this season alone. On the teeth front, I finally get my new chompers put in my mouth this week coming, which I'm so, so excited about. I thought by this episode I would also be able to show the YouTubers a new tattoo that I was going to get on the back of my arm. And if you follow me on Instagram, you would have seen that last week, for like the first time ever, I took melatonin tablets because I've been really, really struggling to sleep, right? And I was a bit of an idiot, and I thought that melatonin was like chamomile tea. Like I just thought like, oh, it just makes you feel like a bit relaxed and it'll just like, put you off to bed. I have prescription melatonin, which I've now been told by a bunch of professionals, like it's not like the iHerb melatonin. It's like much stronger, more regulated. It is like the real deal stuff, hence why it's so expensive. And I took it at midnight and it knocked me out for like 10 hours. And I missed my tattoo appointment and I was so devastated about that. And I've really wanted to rebook with the lady who is like an incredible artist, and I was so apologetic. I offered to pay. I had already paid a deposit and I was like, of course you keep the deposit, please let me pay you more. I feel so bad that I've like no-showed this appointment. This is so not me as a person. I would never do that because Adrian and I have had barbershops, which is like a service-based business for, a decade now. And I know how annoying it is when people no-show an appointment. Anyway, she hasn't replied to me and I'm like, no, don't blacklist me. I promise I'm usually a really good client. I'm just going through a really shit season of life and I made a mistake. Please let me get a tattoo because I just love your work. I've said for years, like as soon as I had Benny, I was like, I want to get a tattoo for the girls. And I had one booked, like I've had it booked since before I separated from Adrian. So I was really devastated. I missed that. I also missed a therapy appointment that morning. I missed a business call with my manager. Like I missed a lot of stuff that morning. So word of advice, melatonin is actually not like chamomile tea, especially if you've got the prescription stuff. And you should take it at like 8 p.m. and you should not take your first ever dose being 5 milligrams like I did. Apparently you meant to start on like 1 milligram or 2 milligrams. So word to the wise, don't do that. I've now been too scared to take it again. And instead I've like been trying other sleep stuff because I'm like, wow, that's really scary to me now. The next day I was so groggy too, and it was horrendous. But you live and you learn, girls, and hopefully I learned for you so you guys don't make that same mistake. Luckily I did not have the girls that like the next morning. I wouldn't have taken it if I had them the next morning because I'm so petrified of like, it's not a sleeping tablet that fully knocks you out, but I'm just scared of not waking up to like my children if they cry or something like that, or like in the morning. So I just would never even risk taking that on a day I had them, but still. I did not have them that day, and yeah, it was not the best thing that I could have ever done. Other than that, my life has been really pretty boring. Like I finally feel like I'm starting to get back into a routine. I'm starting to kind of like do things on certain days. Actually, I signed up for a gym as well, which has been really exciting. I've joined a Fit Stop that has a creche, so I can take the girls with me, which means I can go on days that I had the girls, which was really important to me. And they had like a Black Friday sale where I got like my membership half off, which I was like, slay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to take that. I really want to get back into fitness. Mostly I'm just hoping that it helps with routine. It helps with my sleep. It helps with mental health. Like it's just something to do, something to socialize. And like an added bonus is getting some more like toning. If you guys have followed me for a long time, you would know that recently I have lost a significant amount of weight. I think that is as a result of me starting ADHD medication and then also going through like a really stressful time kind of at the same time. So all up, I've lost about 18 kilos now, which is a lot of weight to lose in like, I think it's 5 months. And with that, I've just lost all muscle, all definition. I have no bum. I have like, everything's just very like flabby, even though I've lost a lot of weight. So I'm really keen to like tone up. I want to build up a booty, So hopefully that happens. I am sharing that journey over on TikTok. So I don't know if you want to get, some motivation, or if you're also like a mum who by the way, I haven't worked out in, I don't know, maybe like at least 18 months, like since, no, more than that, maybe coming up to 2 years now. So I'm really unfit. I was so sore from my 2 sessions that I was waddling around. I could literally barely walk. And I didn't sign up with anyone. So I've gone to this new gym not knowing a single person. I'm taking my kids. The girls are crying through some of the sessions. It's whatever, I'm sharing it. And I think if I can do it, you guys can do it too. I feel like that's my motto at the moment. Like I just want to show people like we can do it. Mums are so capable, and like, I don't know, we can figure out a way to make things work. And it's been really great. I made a cute little friend at my last class and we traded numbers, and we're going to go and get a coffee. Hi, Sarah, if you're watching this or listening to this. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. And it's just been like a really good sort of season at the moment. I feel like I'm getting back into like a groove of things. I'm feeling a bit more like stable, a bit more like consistent, except for like the past 24 hours, but that was like a special circumstance because it's Rosie's birthday. Like otherwise I feel like I'm doing okay. Considering the circumstances, everything's going okay. But speaking of circumstances, we should probably just jump right into the topic that I wanted to discuss today, which is co-parenting and my experience of transitioning into co-parenting. So the girl's dad and I do 50-50 co-parenting. So I always have the girls on a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday night. He always has the girls on a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday night. And then we alternate out Saturdays. So we both get 7 days a fortnight, no matter what. And that is really great. Like it is literally a direct 50-50 split. I technically have the girls more because I have them, you know, Monday during the day, Tuesday during the day, Wednesday during the day. And then he only has them Thursday, Fridays, but he, like they go to daycare on the days that he has them. But that was like a arrangement that really worked for us. Adrian is still working 6 days a week. We kind of wanted to try and figure out something where I could still have the girls at home with me on my days and then they would do their daycare days on his days, because we don't want the girls to be in full-time care, and I have a job that's flexible enough to allow me to do that. And then we also have an arrangement with our finances that allows me to do that, and I'm really, really grateful that that is my reality, because it's not for a lot of single mums and it is such a privilege. I am also really grateful that my ex-partner is such an involved dad. Like I can say whatever I want about him, but when it comes to being a dad, I cannot fault him. He is so involved. He is very dedicated to his children. And when it comes to co-parenting, so far, it's still very early days, we have been doing extremely well. We don't fight about how we parent the girls. We're very in agreement with what we want for the girls and their future. And we just are very aligned on that. We find it pretty easy to do handover. We find it pretty easy to discuss anything to do with the girls. Like in that sense, we are so aligned and just both so on the same page. And that has made our journey so much easier, I think. And I think, you know, we're both very good at just being able to put all the adult problems aside and just put on our mum and dad hats only when it comes to the girls and being around the girls. And that is our plan. Like we want them to have a fairly stress-free family dynamic. I am a child of divorce, and my parents still to this day absolutely loathe each other's guts. They cannot be in the same room as each other. It made my wedding very uncomfortable. It made me graduating high school very uncomfortable, graduating university very uncomfortable. Like it just has been a real source of discomfort in my life. And from day one of Adrian and I separating, I have really like ridden a hard line with him of like, we are not doing that to our children. Like, I don't care if that means we have to play pretend for the next 50 years of our life. Like, we will do it. Like, we can get along really well. But, you know, even if we couldn't, even if something happened that just made it like, you know, that I couldn't stand him or he couldn't stand me, whatever it is, I would still be like, we're pretending in front of the girls, at least until they're at an age to like comprehend a bit more, because I don't want them to feel that stress. Like I don't want them to have to be chartered around to 50 different locations on their birthdays and Christmases. I don't want them to stress about big events and their parents having to be together. When they have kids, I don't want them to stress about like how we're going to manage the grandkids, you know, birthday parties. And because that's a really challenging thing for me, because my parents don't want to be in the same room. I'm like, well, how do I do birthday parties? How do I do celebrations? How do I do christenings? How do we do, you know, it becomes very complex. And I'm just like, that is not a life I want to pass on to my children. And Adrian and I are very aligned on that, which has been great. And I guess that is why we chose 50-50 parenting. I think it's really important that the girls have an equal relationship with both their parents. I think, obviously being close with your mum is so important, but it's also really, really important that the girls have like a male role model in their life. I did not have very many male role models in my life at all, just my dad, and then my parents got divorced. So, it was a really big hole in my life I sort of found, looking for male role models or male father figures, I guess, that I could depend on and rely on and go to things for. And so I think it's really important that, the girls have the opportunity to foster a relationship that is equal to the relationship they have with me. And Adrian's really on board with that. He really wants to be involved in their life. And like I said, he's a great dad. So in the dad department, I don't have to worry about them. I know they're taken care of. I know that he will always be there for them, that he will always prioritize them. He will always love them. So that has been such a relief to me, but that doesn't mean that this process has been easy. One, it's very early days. We're only, three-ish months into this separation. There is a lot of stuff to come. We have not done any of our official divorce separation proceedings. We haven't decided if that's, 100% what we're going to do and how we're going to do it and how we're going to structure all of that. So, that can always throw spanners in the works. Neither of us, met new partners or anything like that, which can be a really challenging thing to kind of get involved in. Everything so far, we've only been managing things between each other, which makes it a bit easier. But when there are other factors that start to come in, things can get very complicated. It's also really hard to do a co-parenting relationship, no matter how amicable you want it to be, or how, aligned you and the other person are, when you're also trying to process a marriage breakdown. And that is something I try and explain to people all the time. This whole situation, there are so many different arms and different emotions that go with those different arms. So there's the parenting side, which I feel like we're actually pretty okay on it. People ask me about that. I'm like, we don't have issues on the parenting side so far. Everything's pretty straightforward. We came to an agreement pretty quickly. We organized the schedule pretty quickly. We are very good with our, handover times, and we have a very strict routine. But then also, like, if anything comes up and we need to be flexible, we're both happy to be flexible and make that work for each other, which is, really amazing. But then there is the marriage, or like, I guess, the romantic relationship arm, which, there is a lot of grief going on in that section at the moment. And there is a lot of mourning, and there's anger, and there's frustration, and there's confusion, and there's hurt. And so even though you're trying your best in the parenting side, those feelings can creep over, and that can be where some challenges pop up. And it has really taught me that, successfully co-parenting so far, has really come down to just putting your own feelings completely on the back burner and just prioritizing your children and their happiness and their well-being. And while that is a really admirable act to do as a parent, it's really fucking hard. Emotional suppression is really hard. It's hard to pretend. It's hard to not show anything in front of your kids, even though, maybe on the romantic side or on your like marriage side, there's lots going on, there's lots of hurt. Maybe you've had an argument that day about something, and then to have to kind of switch gears. And we don't pretend in front of the girls, but to be fine and calm and stable, like you do have to really push down all that other stuff and just tell yourself like, okay, when, we're going to do kid handover, that stays at the door. We're not going to talk about it. We're not going to acknowledge it. We're not going to treat each other, whatever. That is really a challenging thing to do. And it is something I didn't really comprehend about separation until I've started doing it, of like, oh, this is why people can't co-parent, because this is the most challenging thing ever, to leave your emotions at the door and just slap on a smile for your kids and make it work for your kids and not make a fuss and let things go and compromise. And from both sides, like, I'm sure that the girl's dad like has to do things for me as well where he feels that way. That is really, really hard, especially when there's hurt in the relationship and you want sometimes to be, you want to be a petulant child. You want to throw a tantrum. You want to be, angry or vindictive, or you want to say like, I'm not going to do that, because, that's a natural human reaction to have. And it takes so much inner like strength to just be like, I'm not going to do that because of my children. I'm not going to do that because it's going to make the situation worse. I'm not going to do that because X, Y, and Z. And the really hard thing about that is it only works if both of you are in that mindset. Because if it's just like, say, if all the mums listening, if it's who are single mums, if it's just you doing that, that's all fine and dandy. But if the other person can't come to the party, then it's not going to work, because it's so hard to stay amicable, to stay calm, to stay whatever, if the other person's not playing fair, if they're jabbing at you, if they're trying to, trigger you and start you when you're doing kiddo. Like it's really hard. So I will always be grateful that both of us in my relationship decided like, okay, we're both going to agree to this commitment, and I'm really thankful for that. But it is confusing to have all these different hats kind of going on and all these different scenarios. And, we can be talking about one thing earlier in the morning, and then, we got to see each other in the afternoon, and we're just pretending that everything's like, we're not besties and, hugging and being like, oh, and joking around. We are being nice to each other. We're speaking respectfully to each other. We're interacting with the children together. And that can be really confusing to kind of play those two roles at once. Can also be really challenging with two different sides of family, trying to navigate co-parenting with that, because there's lots of different opinions, there's lots of different ideas of what we should do, what we shouldn't do, and that can creep in to then how we co-parent each other. I know I've talked to a lot of other single mums who have discussed with me how challenging co-parenting can be when there's in-laws involved and, siblings that also have kids, and then the cousins get involved. There's a lot of things where you have to sort of really just block out the white noise, have the conversation with each other of like, we're making the decisions, we're going to do what's best for us, and we can just leave everyone else out of it, not worry about everyone else, not, take into account other opinions, only our opinions matter. But again, that can be really, really challenging to do. Adrian and I did decide very early that no matter what, we really wanted the girls to be able to have family time with us all together. So we've done trick-or-treating as a family for Halloween. We did Rosie's birthday this morning as a family. We're going to Wet n Wild tomorrow as a family. We will be doing Christmas Day together as a family. We're going to be doing Christmas lunch together because my mum is not in Brisbane this year for Christmas. So I was going to be, I guess, alone if we didn't do like some type of shared Christmas. And that was really sad to me because it was technically Christmas lands on Adrian's Day. So I was really grateful that we could put that aside and decide to do Christmas Day together. We're going to do Santa photos as a family together. And we've decided like we want to keep doing those each year until the girls reach 18. Like we've made decisions on things where it's like, okay, we're really going to commit to being a family unit. And I'm really grateful that that has been our choice. And I'm so, so hopeful that that will continue to be our choice for the years to come. And I'm really hoping that we are able to prioritize that. I don't have a crystal ball. I obviously can't say for certain that's going to be the way, but I think, both of us are really passionate about trying to keep it that way, and we're both going to be making decisions to keep it that way. And I'm really proud of that, and I'm proud that we have been able to do that as parents. That is pretty much my situation at the moment with the co-parenting, which is, what people have been asking about and what does it look like and how do we make that work. Co-parenting has been so soul crushing for me, however, because, I used to be a full-time stay-at-home mum. So I had Benny 6 days a week, and then Rosie went to daycare 3 days a week, and then I had her the other 3 because Adrian works 6 days. And I really loved that. The only reason Rosie went to daycare 3 days a week is because I got really bad postpartum depression and I just needed a bit of the load taken off. And so we organised her to go to daycare. And also she was having some speech delays, so we were like, let's try and get her around small kids and see if that really helps her speech. And it did. It made an insane difference to her speech, so I'm really glad that we made that decision. But I think the hard thing is like I imagined this life that I would have my kids at home with me and I would be the stay-at-home mom. And, I did social media because it was a great job that I could do while being at home. I had my own hours, it was very flexible. I made content around our lifestyle. Like it was a great compromise on that front, and it was really my dream situation and my dream job. I didn't want more time by myself. I didn't want to be single. I didn't want to go back to work, heavy. Like, I really enjoyed being a homemaker, being a mum, and that kind of being the decision we made. So for that to really suddenly change, and for me to go from being with my children all the time to only being with them 50% of the time has been so soul destroying. It has been such a hard adjustment. It has been something that I have mourned and grieved so deeply. I couldn't even tell you guys the amount of tears I have shed over the situation. It's been really soul splitting. Even things like today for Rosie's birthday, I shared on my Instagram stories that last night I was just an emotional mess because the thought of my daughter waking up on her birthday and it not being me to say good morning, happy birthday to her was honestly too much. Like, I could feel my heart almost screaming in its chest, like, no, like, this isn't how it's meant to be. This isn't what you planned for your life. This isn't what it's, she's your baby. Like, you birthed her into the world and they handed her to you, and your face was the first face that she saw. And on this day that is so special to the both of you, it should be your face that she's seeing when she wakes up. Like, that's what my emotional mother brain is telling me. My logical brain is telling me, your daughter's in a routine. She knows that, usually she's at her dad's on this day, and it's good for her to keep her routine. It's good for her to not just have come back to mum for one night and then go back to dad again. That's confusing for her. That's very disruptive for both the girls. It's nice for her to have a moment with her dad. It's not like he's going to get every birthday. They're going to be birthdays that you get. I'm telling myself all these things logically, but my emotional side was just getting so involved. And that is just a great example of little instances where I have realized things are so different. And that has been a really hard pill to swallow. And that has been a really hard thing to comprehend. And I'm trying to just give myself the grace to feel the emotions that are associated with that. If I want to cry, I'll cry. If I want to scream, I'll scream. If I want to not talk to anyone and, sit in my lounge room and binge watch a comfort show because I feel really down and depressed, I'm going to let myself do that. I'm going to give myself the moment, and then I'm going to pick up and I'm going to move on. And that's what I've just been really trying to focus on doing. I'm trying not to just be busy and not give myself time to actually process these negative emotions and process this grief and grieve. But it is way more challenging than you would think. And even these little instances are things that I would never have comprehended before. The idea of not waking up with my child on their birthday, that was just something I never even thought about with co-parenting or separation or any of that. It just didn't cross my mind. And then now I'm going through it, I'm like, oh, this is really shit. This is really hard. And I did not realize this would be the way that it is. And that's been an interesting process to go through as well. I'm very cautious of talking about this too much and going too deep into my experience and my feelings because, again, it is so early in the process. It is such a new thing. And it's sometimes I think back to when I, first had Rosie and I was making content on social media about being a mother, and I would, make videos saying certain things. And now I look back and I'm like, oh my God, girl, that of course you were saying that at, 2 months postpartum because you had no idea because you'd barely gotten into the process yet. So now I'm very mindful of talking about those things, talking about things in that same sort of way, because I'm I don't want to look back on this and just be you're a freaking naive idiot when I watch, these clips or listen to this podcast, 2 years in the future or something like that. But it's also such a big transition. And I know there are lots of women out there who are also going through separations who want me to talk about it, or who are considering maybe leaving their partner and they want to know, what's it look like on the other side of the door? What's the reality of it? So I'm trying to be honest without being too opinionated on the topic and counting my chickens too much before they hatch. Like I said, I did put a poll on Instagram stories, on the Up Past Bedtime Instagram stories, which, by the way, if you don't follow us on Up Past Bedtime. What are you doing? Go over there and give us a follow right now. And I thought I would answer some of the questions that were coming through, and I'll try and do my best to answer these as truthfully and vulnerably as I can. So I had a lot of questions around like what is our exact parenting split, which I've answered at the start of the episode, like down to the exact days. And then a lot of people were like, what are you planning to do for Christmas? Which I shared earlier in the episode as well. Someone said, how do you explain separation to a toddler? That is a good question. And that is something I still don't really think, like Benny is way too young. Like there's no point even having the conversation. And I think, her explanation will probably end up just being her life experience, because she's probably not going to have any other memories of life differently. So I think it's just going to be all she ever knows. With Rosie, it was a bit more challenging because she's kind of in that weird age where it's like she can't fully comprehend, but she understands enough that like we did have to discuss with her, look, mummy and daddy, we don't live in the same house anymore, but we will always be a family. We love you and Benny so very much. And just because, we don't live together anymore doesn't mean that we don't care about how our family is and the things that happen to our family. You can always call daddy whenever you're at mummy's. You can always call mummy whenever you're at daddy's. We will always be here. We will always be your support together. Like we just started saying those type of things to her. I know this is really confusing for you, but we love you. We will always love you. Like we just tried to keep it very baseline for her. We did not discuss like anything about the ins and outs of anything because she's a child and she doesn't need to be involved in that. I did buy a book that I shared on my stories, and I'm trying to remember the name of it off the top of my head. I think it's like Mummy's House, Daddy's House or something is the name of the book. And it's talking about like living in two separate houses, and it's very basic on kind of trying to explain to a toddler the situation. I will repost the book actually on the Up Past Bedtime's stories after this episode is posted so that you guys can go and look at that book if anyone's trying to explain separation to their toddler as well. And Rosie has found that really, really good. Someone said, I get the 50-50 thing, but if Adrian is working lots, is it not better for you to have the kids until he's done? The reason we didn't do that is because it would be a really unfair expectation on me in terms of time and financials for him to go, I'm going to keep working, full time, you can have the girls and be at home, but also like, you got to be able to live and put a roof over your head and all of that stuff. Like, obviously we have joint assets together. Obviously Adrian would never just be like, see ya, like you're on your own, you can pay for everything by yourself after being a stay-at-home mum. But at the same time, like he can't pay for everything. Like that's, I've got new expenses now. We've got more expenses than we had when I was just a stay-at-home mum. So it doesn't really work that way. So we did the 50-50 split because Adrian wanted to be equally as involved. And I don't take them during the day on his days so that I can work and make an income and set up a future for myself and the girls. So that was kind of why we did it that way. It just financially and logistically was the best way. Emotionally, Adrian wanted to be a 50-50 parent, and I'm not going to say to him like, no, you're not going to be. I'm going to take the girls. Like that's his prerogative to want his children 50% of the time. We made them 50-50, and I think it would be unfair for me to stand there and be like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm going to have them 80 and you're going to have them 20 when he desperately wants to do it. The girls next year will be in daycare on his days, and then he has changed his work schedule around so that he will be home on the weekends with them. And I'm really happy with that, and I'm happy that that's worked out for him and that's what he wants to do. So that's kind of why we did it that way, because we just decided it was best for our family and what we wanted as individuals. Someone said, do you need 2 sets of everything? We don't share anything in our 50-50 except we have like one bag, which is like our nappy bag, and it's got like in it like an inhaler because Rosie has like asthma, but that's like our on-the-go inhaler. We both have separate inhalers in our own houses. And then it's got like a couple of nappies, some spare change of clothes. The girls have one pair of Crocs, which they wear to each house. Whatever we send the girls to a house in, we just send them home in the same thing, if that makes sense. So like I'll give Adrian the girls in an outfit, and over his like time with him, he'll usually wash that outfit and then he'll return them back to me in the same outfit, so we don't have to share clothes or whatever. But if we want to share something, like if I need something that I know he has, like we would just message the other and be like, hey, can you bring this? Like we're going to Wet n Wild tomorrow. Adrian was like, I actually don't have togs for the girls because we do swimming lessons on my days, and we haven't really like gotten into like swimming or holiday season, so he hasn't needed to buy any. And so he was like, hey, can you like bring the girls' togs to Wet n Wild when we, you know, when we come to get you to drive up there? Can you make sure you have the girls' togs? I was like, yeah, sure, no worries. Like that's kind of how we work it. Like when I say that we're very relaxed on the co-parenting front, I really do sort of mean it. Someone said, do you notice big feelings or behavior changes when the girls get back from Adrian's? Yes, I do. And I think he probably notices the same thing. They're so little and it's a big adjustment. Another reason why we've done the split that we've sort of done in our days was to try and have the girls moved around the least amount as possible. So we wanted them to have longer stretches in the one place so they had time to settle and it wasn't so choppy and changey, and then they could never find like routine and balance and, you know, whatever. Some weeks, yes, there are big emotions and big feelings, and then some weeks there aren't. But then again, it's also hard because the girls are at an age where developmentally it's very normal for them to have big feelings even if they weren't going through a separation. The one big thing we've really noticed with Rosie is she has had a toilet training regression, and a really massive one. And we've been told that's very normal when toddlers go through a really big season of change, because the only two things a toddler can really control is what they eat and when they go to the toilet. So usually one of those two things during a really big season of like stress or change or chaos or whatever will suffer, because that is a way that a child can feel like they have control over their life. So it's really normal, and we've been working with her doctor and with daycare and with each other to just try and get her back on track the best that we can, and that's been going okay. That's probably been the biggest thing. Otherwise, I don't know. Rosie's 3, so she just, you know, she's a three-nager. She has big emotions and big feelings, and, you know, Benny's 18 months and starting to talk and walk and interact. So, you know, they have tantrums anyway. Whether we were together or not, they'd be having tantrums. So I try not to get too deep into the whole thing. Someone says, how do you manage conflict while also being co-parents? Yeah, that's something we're still learning. I don't think we're doing it probably in the most healthy way that we could, because our situation at the moment is just being like, let's just park that and not talk about it, because it's going to affect what's going on in the parenting world, which means there is a lot of unresolved sort of issues in our relationship or our marriage or, you know, whatever. But honestly, we're just trying to do the best we can, and we're trying to keep it as stable for the girls as possible. And while that is probably not the best for me or the best for Adrian in terms of like us getting closure and dealing with things that we need to deal with, it is the best for the girls. And we've just decided to make a decision to prioritize them at the moment. And so that's the way we're kind of dealing with it. If something gets too heated and we know it's going to end up causing too much, we just say, let's stop this here. And we can talk about it down the line, because, you know, we've got to do handoff tomorrow morning or whatever it is. And this is going to really affect that. And then that's going to affect the girls. So let's not even go down this road. I think kind of where we're at the moment is like, we are just trying to not even do anything to do with our romantic relationship, our marriage, whatever. We're both doing separate therapy, we're working on our separate things, we're living our separate lives, and we're just focusing on the co-parenting. And, you know, if we ever want to revisit the relationship stuff, well, that's a decision to make down the line, but it's not the decision to make now. And that's kind of how we're approaching it. Do I know if that's the best decision? Is that the best way to do it? I have no idea. That's just what we're trying to do right now, and we'll see how it goes. And, you know, if it stops working for us, we will change to something else. I think that is something I've really learned over this period, is like, we're just trying not to like be like, we have to do it this way or this is the decision. Like, we're trying to be fluid. We're trying to take it day by day. We're trying to figure out what works and what doesn't, and just go with the flow as much as we can, and just learn that like there's probably going to be lots of changes over the next years, like not just, you know, the next couple of months, and that's okay. That's part of the process, and that's the way it needs to be. Someone said, how did Adrian feel about this all coming out? So proud of you for doing what's best for you. If you mean like my first episode, he was fine. I actually recorded that episode a bit in advance, and then it was sent to him, and I was like, hey, this is the episode. This is what I'm going to be saying. Can you have a listen? Can you let me know if there's anything in there that you're not comfortable with, or, that you would like to change, or whatever it was, and work on that, and we can see what we can do on that. And that's kind of how I went about it. I don't post, anything that I think would make Adrian super uncomfortable, or that is, super emotive, or that is whatever. I am really passionate about when I said I don't want to have this hash out in social media. I don't have any interest in that. I don't think it's important for people to know the ins and outs. I don't think it is healthy for our family. I don't think it is healthy for my children. I think, dealing with details privately is important. So when it came to the podcast, I didn't want him to feel blindsided. I didn't want him to feel attacked. I didn't want him to feel like, he hadn't had a chance to listen and know what was going to be said before everyone else. So of course I gave him the opportunity to. I sent him the episode. I made like a few teeny tiny edits that he asked me to, and that was that. He knew when it was going live. He knew exactly what was going to be said, and he was prepared for it. I think people forget, like, my whole time on social media, I've been with Adrian. He kind of understands the job. He's been in a lot of content in the past. He's made his own content. We did the podcast together. This is not a surprise for him. It's not like I've never done content before and then suddenly we separated and I'm doing, 50-part series on TikToks and gaining all these followers. Like, he knows the deal. He knew that this would be a part of us separating. I think that's the best way we could have done it, and that's something that we will be sticking to. Someone said, just an observation, with peace and love, you say, a lot this ep. That is a very bad habit of mine. I say, in my day-to-day life after everything. I think it is a self-confidence issue. I always feel like I feel like I have a big personality. I talk really fast, and I always feel like people don't understand me, or they can't process what I'm saying. So I always stop and check, what I'm saying. And now it's become a habit. I am trying to break it. So I'm sorry if that is really annoying for you. Just know that it is hopefully not something that will be around forever. Someone said, how will you go if either of you meet another partner? I don't know. Adrian and I have not made super long-term decisions as of yet, but obviously, when you separate, meeting other people is something that is a potential, and it's on the cards, and it's something that crosses your mind and you think about, and, that's really daunting. I met Adrian at 18. He's the only adult relationship I've ever had. I thought that, we were going to grow old together and I was never going to be with anyone else. So it's confusing to think about that possibility. It's confusing to think about the idea of dating, of meeting someone new, of him meeting someone new. I guess with 50-50 parenting, it's also really hard to consider the possibility that, if the girl's dad met someone else, that woman would be seeing my children the exact same amount of time as me. And that's really hard to comprehend and swallow and realize, oh, wow, that doesn't make me feel very nice. But I think from my end, if Adrian and I didn't work out and he went on and met someone else, I would just really hope and pray they were a beautiful mother to the girls. I would hope that her and I could get along really, really well. And I would hope that it would be as amicable as possible. That would be my only wish. Even if I didn't like her, to be honest, in front of the girls, I wouldn't say anything. I wouldn't let them know that. I would be very nice, very amicable. I'd try my best to get along. Of course, I don't know. And there's some situations where that's not possible, but I would hope that, we could just find a way to make it work as best we can. And I think if you're fully separated, if we get divorced, we do the whole shebang, I don't get a choice, about future partners. I can have a say. I can say, I don't really feel comfortable with this. I don't feel that. But, the separate people, you got to make separate decisions. And so I guess it's just part and parcel of it. Do I think it'll be a fun time? No. Do I think it will be super challenging and hard and gut-wrenching? Probably yes. But I'm really trying not to forward think too much and be like, it's not something I have to worry about right now, so I'm not going to worry about it right now. Again, is that the healthiest thing to do? I'm not sure. I'm honestly not sure, but is the healthiest choice that I can make for me right now, because I know my own mental state and I know my own, plate load, and that's what I think is the best choice. Someone said, it's really hard when parent friends don't understand about separation. Yes, that can be really challenging. I would say in both Adrian and I circles, we are the first to separate. the first people who have kids to separate. I'm sure we will not be the last, but for now it's just us going through it, which means all of our friends with kids are married and together. And that's really hard because they don't understand, and it's really hard because now suddenly I feel like I'm not in the same season of life as, the rest of my mum friends and, whatever, and it's really, really challenging. Oh, sorry, I lied. I do have Rach and Charlie, who are my two really good friends who are single mums, but Charlie I met after she'd already separated, so I didn't know her as a married couple, and then Rach and I became much closer after she separated from her husband. So again, it's sort of a similar sort of vibe. So all my long-term friendships, like they are all with their long-term partners. And that's really hard, because I feel like I can't go hang out with them because I'm like, oh, I don't have a partner to bring with me. And I just kind of feel like the awkward third wheel. I still do it. I still go and hang out with them. But yeah, that can be a really challenging thing as well. Yeah, they don't understand, but I don't begrudge them. I kind of look at it the same way as your friends who don't have kids. You can't expect them to know something they haven't experienced, and so I just give them grace when I feel like they don't understand a topic. I just think to myself, well, maybe this is the topic I shouldn't be talking to this particular friend with, and I'll go talk to, one of my friends that is separated and does understand it a bit more. And I don't do that in a malicious way, and I don't do any judgment to the friend that doesn't get it. I just think, you're in a different season of life, and it's really a complex situation, and it is something that like you don't know until you know. So I don't begrudge you for not knowing. That was the majority of like the new questions that I hadn't already answered in my little debrief at the start of the episode. Feel like that really gives an insight of kind of how we're going on the co-parenting front. I'm sure probably in 12 months I will want to do an updated potty episode if you guys keep listening to the podcast enough that I can have an episode in 12 months. Fingers crossed. I love talking to you guys. So, rate, review, like, follow us, do all that fun stuff, listen to the episodes, share them with friends. It's very much appreciated when you do. But I just want to say, like, especially on the co-parenting front, I do not know all the answers, not even close. I'm only just beginning to learn about this, and I am so open to feedback and advice from other women who maybe are years down the line than me. Like, if you have something that you're like, I wish I had known this when this happened or whatever, please DM me. Please share it with me. I'm all ears. I'm so willing to learn. I'm so willing to listen to advice and to learn from other people's mistakes or learn from other people's wins and try and replicate them. Like, I would love that. I love it when you guys share your own experiences with me. I find it so comforting and so helpful. I always get people who message and they're like, oh, I'm sorry to be annoying. I'm like, please, you're not annoying. This is the best bit about social media. Being able to share our lived experiences is so incredible to me. I find it so helpful, so beneficial. And, that's why I often also on-share a lot of DMs that I receive from people, because I want you guys to also get the benefit of all the messages that I receive as well. So yeah, I am very new. I don't know all the answers, but I am trying the best that I can try on this front. Truly, I don't think I could be trying harder. It consumes a lot of my brain. It is something I think about day in and day out, and I'm trying to make the best choices I can for the future. And so everyone who's been so kind and so encouraging, I'm so grateful, because your words really do mean so much to me, because this is probably the thing that I've tried the hardest on in my entire life. I don't think I've ever been more dedicated and more focused on, a plan that I've made for myself. And so, yeah, when you guys, commend me on it or congratulate me on it or just, give me that encouragement, it really, it does mean the world to me. I feel like I've got to do a recommendation of the week. I really ummed and ahed on if I was going to bring recommendation of the week back with this, rerun season. But I'm like, I like the recommendation of the week. I like sharing product recs. Like, I like doing that stuff. So I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do a recommendation of the week. And my recommendation of this week is the Disney princess dresses that are at Target, the licensed like costume dresses. I think they're expensive, okay? They're $60 for like these proper princess dresses that you can buy there. We got Rosie one for her birthday, and oh my God. One, the quality is great. I have never seen her so excited to put on a piece of clothing. I used to walk past them at Target and kind of be like, oh, they're a bit intense. They're a bit expensive, like whatever. Anyway, I went in the other day, I saw one and I thought, you know what? Rosie's so obsessed with Disney princess. Let's buy one, and I don't regret it. one single bit. When her face lit up this morning when she opened that and when she put it on, I was like, this is the best. So for all the girl mums, I'm sorry, boy mums, that's not very helpful to you, but for all the girl mums who are coming into Christmas and you're looking for a present and you might think, oh, I don't know what to get, go into Target, go to like the Disney, it's around where they keep like either the baby clothes or like the knickers or like shoes and stuff. Like they have these licensed Disney princess dresses and they are so cool. They are so incredible. Like the quality is really good. I'm like, oh, I guess that's why it's $60. And it made Rosie's life. So that is my product recommendation of the week. That and get back into exercise. I'm going to do 2 this week. I just started back up the gym. I was saying at the start of the episode, and it has been incredible. I've really loved it. Now, you don't have to go sign up for a gym. Cost of living is fucking crazy at the moment. And I know people have to pick and choose what you're putting your expenses on. But even going outside, going for walks, I don't know, running around a track if you're near a local run track or joining a free run club or any of those things, I'm just really going to encourage all the mums, like get out there and move your body. I know Michaela Ledocky, I don't know if anyone follows her. I love Michaela. She's such a nice lady. That made her sound like she was 60 years old and we're the same age. She's such a nice gal. I know that she has been doing like 10,000 steps for like the last couple of months, and that's been her form of exercise every day. And she looks great. Like, I'm sure that's such a great benefit of it, but you know, I just feel like she's like radiating happiness and whatever. And she was someone who really inspired me of like, I'm going to get back into fitness. Like, I'm going to get back into moving my body and just making it a priority and making it a goal. She would put up so many stories at like 7 p.m. being like, I haven't hit my 10,000 steps, so I'm going to go for a walk now at 7 p.m. after the kids have gone to sleep. I was like, you go, girl. So I would also recommend that, because even just doing 2 sessions this week, I have felt 1,000 times better than I have felt in like a year, not just in this period of separation, like in a very long time. So those are my 2 recommendations. If you try either of them, if you buy the dress, if you go for the walk, whatever, I would love if you tagged me and you tagged Up Past Bedtime in a story on Instagram of you doing it, or even a TikTok if you're going to do a TikTok, whatever it is, tag us, because I would love to see it. I would love to see you guys implementing some of the things I recommend, or trying, or giving feedback on my recommendations. If I recommend something you don't like it, I want to know that too. Like, I really want this to be like such a fun little segment of the potty. So don't be scared to do that. With that, I'm going to love you and I'm going to leave you guys. Thank you for chatting with me. Thank you for staying up late with me. I love you all dearly. Sweet dreams.